Alright, we should be live now, and we've got some channel membership renewals coming in. Thank you for all the people who have supported via channel memberships. But alright, happy Wednesday everyone, happy hump day, hope everyone is doing well. We have some people who have been in the chat early, and I do have the chat pulled up today. I'll probably be changing this in terms of font and size and stuff as the streams progress, but I just wanted to get something on the screen for when we do the main face cam, just to have the chat up there as well. But let's see, we have a bunch of early people. We got Kale130. What is up? What is up? What's up, Craig Lilly, one of the earlier people here. Kevin Ngo, as always. We got Shane Eslick with some good news that he shared earlier with regards to his new living situation, so that's good to hear. We have Citrus. What is up? How are you doing? Super donor right there. We gotta go back a little bit. I've got a handful of other people. Arnold, Mr. Intern, Juan, Dylan, as well as Jason Whitmer with the first comment with a basic hi. But yeah, so we're just gonna chill out a bit right now. I'm just gonna focus on chat before we hop into the main topic of this stream, which is what the thumbnail and title says. If you were given $2,500 for a PC, what would you build? Or what would you get, rather? You don't have to necessarily build it. There might be some pre-built options that are worth that money. Thanks for the renewal, Brian Robinson. I don't know why it says new member. I'm pretty sure you are a renewal, but YouTube needs to get their stuff together in terms of the streaming side of things. How's my week been? My week has been good, but very busy. So I was supposed to get a video out this past weekend, but I ran into some difficulties due to my part. And I'm still working to get that done. So I'm trying to get that out probably either tomorrow or Friday. But I'll show you what the video is going to be about. It's going to be about this graphics card. Well, kind of. It's going to be a build that uses this graphics card, but we'll also take a look at it side by side with some comparable ones. So yeah, this is the Intel Arc A770. This is the 16 gigabyte limited edition, kind of like their Founders Edition variants of it. But yeah, so I was able to get my hands on one of these thanks to Micro Center. They have been going in and out of stock. I've seen it in stock at Newegg, like, and be buyable, but once they go in stock, they don't last for like days at a time. They probably last for like a few hours until people figure that out and then buy them until they're sold out. But yeah, in terms of like stock though, they are easier to get than what we were dealing with peak pandemic. So if you want to grab one of these, you could. I'll give you guys all my thoughts and stuff in the video. I don't want to spoil too much of it here. So yeah. Hey, what's up? Jonathan Talks Hardware. He's just grinding on some PC flipping stuff on Java. Nice, nice. One of the PC flippers here. Kevin Ngo is going to be watching the Astros game, so he'll be in and out. No worries, Kevin. Hope you enjoy watching the game. Well, a PC for $2,500, yeah, definitely would not include a 4090. $2,500 is a really, and that's the reason I asked this, because someone actually approached me and was like, hey, what can I do with $2,500? And I started to put together a build, and I thought to myself while I was doing that on PC Part Picker, this would be an interesting discussion to have on stream, because with $2,500, you do get a lot of flexibility as to which brands you can choose, as well as what tier of different parts you can choose. But if you want the newest, latest stuff, it's harder to fit in without having to cut corners because of how expensive like the newest motherboards are, DDR5 memory, 13th gen Intel, 4000 series cards. You can easily start to approach the limit of that $2,500 fast. Whereas if you go with older gen stuff, you could easily fit a lot of stuff in there. So we'll take a look at the different options you can go with a little bit later. Well, it depends on what the reference price is for the 4090. So let me see what the 4090 is actually going for, if it's even in stock anywhere. But let's say we use the $1,600 reference point, right? That means you only have $900 left for everything else, which you're going to be cutting corners probably on the case, as well as you're going to want a powerful power supply, so you can't really cut corners there. So yeah, like to fit a 4090 into a $2,500 build, we could actually try to do that later too. I don't think it's really feasible. I think you're gonna have to cut down to at least a 4080, if not like a 3090 Ti or something, to get better like balance and not have to really cut corners. But yeah. Hey, what's up, John, the net guy? Thank you. I think John's referring to my skin, which has been clearing up more and more ever since I had that weird disease that plagued me. But good to see you in the chat, John. Okay, so the caveat with the title of the stream is it has to be all brand new, readily available parts. And as someone who likes to buy used parts myself, I think this restriction is still kind of necessary, given that there's still a lot of people out there, especially first-time PC buyers or just people who aren't as knowledgeable about PCs. They get the peace of mind of being the first-time owners of something, as well as not having to deal with, you know, basically no warranty buying a used part. And warranties you can transfer with some companies and all that, but it's less of a headache should something go wrong if you buy something brand new, right? So it also imposes more of a challenge on us. Yeah, if you go used, it makes building a better PC a lot easier given $2,500. But putting a restriction and making it accessible to everyone, at least within the US anyways, I think that's more challenging. But yeah, of course, I will always advocate for used parts if you're comfortable with it. Doback slaps. Could you check out my 4090 build tonight? I put it on Twitter to show you. Nice. Yeah. Let me check Twitter real quick. Wait, did you post it on Twitter? I'm not seeing it in my notifications. Can you, if you at me on that tweet, can you go back and resubmit it with like something else before you at my handle? Okay. Let's see. So I think we have most of the housekeeping stuff out of the way. So upcoming Intel Arc 770 related build in the next couple of days. And then I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes till about 10 minutes into the stream before we hop over to PC Part Picker. I do have a somewhat similar build to this, or a similar video due to this coming up, and it's gonna have to do with the Optiplex builds. But for the Optiplex one, it is gonna be more of like Optiplex versus non-Optiplex, which you could compare like a new parts build to it. But yeah, I guess a used 500 versus a brand new 500 side by side, or even less actually, like maybe even 300 or 400 bucks. That could be an interesting video put together, because you know I do love my side by side benchmarks. I love showing everything, all the stats side by side, and you can see the differences in like temperatures, clock speeds, RAM utilization, FPS, averages, 1% lows, all of that. So yeah, I will actually write that one down. I may already have parts on hand to be able to do that, based on like market reference prices. So yeah. Yeah, so I do also have a very fun all-new $300 parts build potentially in the pipeline, which I think will be really fun too. Because $300, even in the used market, you're kind of cutting corners, but imagine 300 parts brand new. You're going like bottom of the barrel for most everything. So, yeah. Okay. Feng Tran says Micro Center is selling a. Yeah, so they're 12th gen stuff right now. Micro Center has a lot of stackable deals going on. They have the $20 motherboard thing as always. They also have a new customer's $25 on any CPU, not just like select CPUs, any CPU, whether it's new or something old. $25 off, brand new customer, every single CPU. And also they have you can get a $25 coupon if you submit a PC build to their showcase. They'll email you a coupon once it's verified. So there's lots of ways right now in Micro Center specifically to save money on top of their already low prices. So you at me in another tweet. Let me check it out. Yes, I see it. I see it, Dobex Labs. I don't know why the first one didn't show up. My notifications is weird. I'll show you later. Actually, I can show you right now before we hop into everything. But yeah, if you go to my, here's the browser. So here's my notifications. I don't think in Twitter can you, yeah, you can't get rid of notifications on here. But I only saw this at one. It didn't pop. Here, I'll click on the notifications again. So we'll go home, notifications. It only showed this one. It didn't show anything prior, which, oh, it's because you didn't tag me the first time around, I think. Or you did, but for some reason Twitter's being weird and doesn't show it. Sweet, we'll take a look at your setup later on in the stream. Well, so the thing about the new customer deals with Micro Center is a lot of people in your life can be new customers. If, you know, I feel like a lot of people have like friends or family who aren't really into PCs and won't utilize that, but they could help you buy something from Micro Center using the new customer deal, right? Like, if you already use it yourself, do you have like a girlfriend or a boyfriend, a husband, wife? Do you have kids? Do you have parents? Other people who can be new customers and get you that discount. But yeah, they definitely are trying to bring more customers, you know, into the door and into like DIY PC building. So yeah, Jason Whitmer. Everyone in my family has gotten a free SSD at this point. Exactly. Well, there's a limit. Well, sometimes places do like limit one per household, but there's even ways to circumvent that. But you get the point. If you're trying to really save money, there are ways to do it legally. So yeah. I don't know if using a random name and email address would work. Because I wonder if they would cross-check it to when you actually check out and the name that they have on file or the name that you're using on your credit card, if it has to match. So I'm not sure about that, but if anyone knows, specifically for Micro Center, because that's what we're talking about here, let us know. It's based on phone number now, says Jason. Has to be unique. Yeah, see, so it's not as easy as being able to generate like millions of discount codes, but with family member and friends, you should have a good handful, you know, to last you a couple of years. Just don't use it on the low tier items. Like, don't use it when they have like the free USB thumb drives and stuff like that. Use it for like when they have the good CPU promos and things like that. Use Cash App account to order. Can you do that? Is Micro Center taking Cash App? I'm actually not a big user of Cash App. I'm still Team Venmo and PayPal, but actually, and what is there? Zelle? That's gonna be the first poll of the night. Start a poll. For money transfers. Okay, so we got PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. I know there's like more of them, but I'm limited to 4 options here. So I'm just curious what people use. I'm definitely I've been using PayPal since like forever. But then when Venmo came around, that was a little bit more convenient. And then yeah, I never got on the Cash App and everything else train. Hey, what's up, Chris? So what are we looking at under the microscope? Oh yeah, Microscope. I wonder if I could still do that. Let me see if it's plugged in. Actually, Chris, I don't know if we have time for Microscope. We can look at one of my pills. Let's see what one of my pills look like. This might be interesting, this might not be. But while we're just chilling. Yeah, so we have quite a bit of mix in the chat. We've got Cash App, we got PayPal, you use all. Even though you use all though, if you had to vote, like let's just say if you had to only use one for the rest of your life, which one would it be? I would probably choose PayPal. Venmo is more convenient, but I think PayPal is more widely accepted. I don't know if you can use Venmo. Can you use Venmo to pay for a lot of online places? I don't think so. It's more of like a personal, like money transferring thing. PayPal also has that, but I feel like PayPal just feels so archaic compared to some of the newer apps out there. Yeah, so PayPal and Venmo are the same company, but just both their apps, they feel so different when you're using them. Venmo just seems so much more seamless, whereas PayPal, it feels like more of a chore to get people's information in there and all of that. And so, alright, let me see if we can get this microscope to work. And we can take a look at some stuff under here. Microscope camera. Alright. Before we get into what we were going to do, Chris reminded me because I said we could look at more stuff under the microscope. So this is one of the pills that I have to take every single day for... What is that yellow stuff on there? I can't even see... Oh, and there's my dry fingertips again. Oh, jeez. But this is one of my the medications that I take daily. Huh, interesting. Straight from the bottle. What is that yellow stuff on there? Yeah, that's this right here. This tiny little pill. See, my fingers don't look that ashy on this camera. But they laced it. Dude, it's just like the laced Halloween candy. Which, by the way, reminds me, for those of you out there who do celebrate Halloween, how was your Halloween? We had, I would say, maybe like 20 to 25 trick-or-treaters. Which, I feel like, maybe it's because we just had the pandemic for the last 2 years. But we haven't had trick-or-treaters, as many trick-or-treaters in the recent years. I don't know. I feel like maybe parents just feel like it's not safe anymore or something, but yeah. We just hand out candy every year. But me and my wife don't have kids or anything yet, so we don't partake in going door to door. So Coalition Gaming maybe had 4 or 5 trick-or-treaters. It's gone down. Yeah, year over year. It's just like, I don't know. It's just not worth the effort anymore. You can go to the store and buy $5 worth of candy, or maybe like more like 10 or 15. Which would be equivalent to like your whole night of trick-or-treating, which I know takes the fun out of it, but yeah, I don't know. Did I wear a costume? So I did wear a costume to a Halloween party this past Friday. My wife's cousin just had like a kind of like a get-together at their place. So I wore my 2012 Voltorb costume. I'll show you what that one is. Voltorb cosplay. There's okay, this one. So this is actually me at PAX, but I wore this costume, which by this point is almost it's like 8 or 9 years old. I just keep it in a box somewhere, and this was a costume party, and I had to do it. So I busted this costume out, and wore that for the house party. But that was about it. I did not wear this costume though, because I was in the middle of a WoW raid actually during Halloween. So my wife took care of most of the candy handing out. Shane Eslick, you bought Chupa Chups to hand out, but not one single visitor? What is Chupa Chups? Is that an Australian thing? Spanish brand of lollipop. Oh, I know what these are. Okay. I didn't know that they were called this. Yeah. I always thought these looked cool, but I never knew the brand was called Chupa Chups. I just thought they displayed very nicely. They are aesthetically pleasing to look at when they're on the display. Hey, it's Joe says, our neighborhood was busy. Yeah. Brian Robbins says, did I? Yeah, I designed this costume. Essentially, it was dressing up as a, you know, in button-up shirts, wear slacks, get the color coordination of the tie and the shirt. And then this is like a street lamp orb that you can just buy online. I cut it and then I painted and then did all the design, like put the mesh eyes on it and stuff like that. Yeah, but this was DIY from scratch. Many, many years ago. Hey, what's up, Shauner? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Brad Smith says, my Halloween was super quiet because Michigan... Oh, trunk or treat. I saw something about that. That's where... It was more of... I think people were making fun of it, unfortunately, but I mean, it's whatever. That's how people want to do their trick-or-treating. I think it's fine. But trunk or treat is where... especially in places that don't have walkable neighborhoods, like whether it's either unsafe, it's too dark, you know, no sidewalks, houses are too spread, like far apart. Trunk or treat is where you can decorate your car or just not decorate it, but you all go into a parking lot and the kids can trick or treat from car to car, and you know, it's in like a controlled area. So I mean, you can think of it as whatever, but I thought it was kind of a unique idea given like some of the circumstances that people, you know, may be living in, where they don't have very, like, I guess, neighborhoods that are conducive to children walking around and hitting a lot of houses in a small, like, area. Yeah, so, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I first heard of Trunk or Treat literally like 3 days ago, scrolling across Twitter. You went out Saturday before Halloween, but didn't do anything on Halloween besides go to class and work. Yeah, I mean, Halloween is definitely not at the top of my tier of holidays to celebrate. So, yeah, I kind of usually don't do too much for it either. Okay, we're gonna look at one more thing under the microscope per Chris's request. Oh, is there anything on this Intel? Let's look at the ARC card under the microscope and just see if there's anything interesting that we can find before we get to the rest of the stream, trying to do the $2,500 build. Okay, so here's the interface to the PCIe slot itself. Let's see. Not too interesting there. So here's your ARC. Oh man. Oh, the orientation. So here's a zoomed up shot of, let me turn up the light. The text on the ARC A770, like, looking up close, it actually looks pretty imperfect, doesn't it? Like, the lines aren't as crisp. It looks like, but you would never be able to tell unless you were zoomed up this close. What else do we have here that might be interesting? Here's the RGB strip, not too interesting on the card. Danny, did you watch that Linus $1 PC stream? I did not. Wait, is that the one where he played whatever games people were requesting live on stream? Which I thought was a pretty cool thing to do, to have pretty much every game ready to go. Here's the fan hub. Yeah, not looking at a graphics card, especially one that's, you know, not taken apart, isn't too interesting under a microscope. But you can see some of the traces on the PCB and stuff like that, so. And there's the Intel logo. Intel's new logo. I forgot when they changed it to this all lowercase text, but I remember when people did that, or when they did that, some people made a fuss about it. But alright. Oh, he rolled D&D dice and picked his sparks. No, I did not see that. Ended up with an A770 and A750. How did it go? What's up, TM Skateboarding? It's going great. How are you? So, how would you say what compares to it? Oh, okay. Here we go. Here's the question from Hayes Joel. So once again, I ask you folks: sell or save? GTX 1066 gigabyte, Zotac Mini. Wait, what? Can you explain that again? Thanks for the reminder for drinking the water, Eduardo. So Joel, what do you have again? You have a 1066 gigabyte Zotac Mini with the AMD stock cooler. Interesting. I'm curious how much you would be able to sell that for and who would want to buy it. It's a pretty cool way to cool it. But because it doesn't have the original fan shroud and stuff like that, I mean, how much could you really get for that card? I would think maybe in the ballpark of like 100 to 120 bucks, maybe less depending on what that stock cooler being on there. If people think it's worth it or not. Do you have a backup graphics card? I think it's always a good idea to have a backup just in case anything goes wrong with the one that you have, so that you're not out of a PC. If you already have a backup one, then feel free to sell it, because with all PC hardware, if you just hold on to it and really don't have a use for it, it's gonna depreciate in value more and more over time. So, you know, if you can't think of a use for it now and you don't need it as a spare, I would say sell. That's an $80 to $100 offer from Chris from Coalition Gaming if he was interested. Yeah, I would say about the same thing. 80 to 100 for a kind of janky 1066 gigabyte that has no fan shroud on it. Yeah, basically listed without a cooler. Okay, so let's get on to the PC part picker list. So, just to give you an idea, this was actually a real life scenario of mine, like I explained earlier on the stream for the people who are getting here late. I was approached by one of my actually ex-WoW guildmates. She plays on a different server now, but she hit me up because when we were playing WoW together, she found out that I like did PC stuff. So, and I always offer to like my friends, family, and even people I game with, if you have any PC questions, feel free to reach out and ask. So she reached out and said, you know, she's been saving up money for Black Friday coming up, so we still have time. She's wanting to drop around $2,500 on a PC build. What would I recommend? And that's a really open-ended question, because with $2,500, you could do a lot. Like once you start passing like the $1,500, getting to like the $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 threshold, you could pretty much build, like, there's literally thousands of different configurations you can come up with and still have a viable build. But for her uses specifically, it's going to be for gaming, and it's going to be she's getting into Blender, so Blender workloads, and from what I've seen, NVIDIA and their CUDA cores definitely help out in Blender more so than AMD's offering for their graphics cards. So I'm thinking we have to go NVIDIA for this build, this $2,500 build, as well as I don't know in terms of Intel versus AMD. I'm kind of like 50-50 on it, because for the rendering specifically, I think it's going to be hardware rendering and not like CPU based. So I don't think it'll matter too much. So then you can go either way. No. So the $2,500 does not include monitors and peripherals. It's just for the tower, the PC tower itself. That's it. The Smash TV Network says $40.90 for Ti for sure. For 2500, I don't know about that in a full PC build, but let's take a look. All right, so we're going to the PC part picker. We're going to do a fresh PC build. So I guess what is when you think $2,500 PC in this climate we're in, what are the general specs in terms of like CPU and graphics card? I'm thinking something like either 12700K if you're going to Intel, or 13700K with maybe a 480, depending on if you can find it at actual MSRP. If you can't, then maybe like a 3090. $13700K RTX 3080. Yeah, I think so if you do want to go with newer gen Intel and you're going to be, spending more on the motherboard, more on the CPU, DDR5 RAM, you're going to have to cut back on the graphics card. So then, yeah, that 3090 I mentioned earlier, you're going to be going down to either 3080 or 3080 Ti probably. Patrick McGovern says, I hate to say it, but I think you're better going Intel on a fresh build. Can you elaborate on that? Because even with 13th gen out now, I'm pretty sure 14th gen is not going to stay on LGA 1400. So in terms of upgrade path, the 13th gen is going to be the end of the line for LGA 1700. Which I think, is that why you would argue that you wouldn't go AMD? Because AM4 is on its last legs with, like the 7000 series? Does she even have a high refresh rate monitor? Yeah, so she'll have money to spend on peripherals and stuff to match the build outside of it, but just for the PC build itself, she wanted to spend around 2500. Also, high refresh rate monitors, they're starting to become really affordable, so it's not too crazy for people to spend, let's say, like $2 to $3 grand on a computer and have a perfectly fine like $300, like $250 to $300 monitors that could actually match it in terms of specs. Nima says, for future-proofing, they'd say AMD. Future-proofing? I guess AMD could still release AM4 processors, even though it wouldn't be like the top-of-the-line stuff, or like a new generation, but they could go back and fill in the other generations like they have done in the past. I'm going to end the poll. By the way, PayPal seems to be still the popular vote. One of the OG, payment systems. Or at least, like, peer-to-peer payment systems. Yeah, and I agree with what Jason Whitmer says here. Future-proofing doesn't really exist. It's because anytime I've seen someone say that they wanted to future-proof their system and spend a lot, they're typically the type to also end up upgrading like 2 to 3 years later, something. So when I think of future proofing, I'm thinking you're spending like a lot of money now for diminishing returns so that you can keep the system for long term. But if you upgrade every 2 to 3 years, I don't think you should be going for the highest end stuff, nor should you be future proofing, because you're going to be replacing it well before its end of life anyways. So, Kuya Isaac says, gonna watch the Jazz Mavs game. Have a good stream, y'all. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Kuya Isaac. I appreciate it. And, okay, Patrick, so there's no bias in his response. He does prefer AMD, but right now he leans towards Intel. Which, I mean, let's put together this build. So, let's see if we can... Actually, let's fill in the graphics card first. I wonder if they're gonna have... We're starting to see 4080s, but there's no price in there. I thought I saw a 4080 on Newegg the other day. Listed, or was it coming? Oh, it's coming soon. So right now, if you want the newest of the new, the only thing you can really get is the 4090. 4080s are not available, and AMD doesn't have anything. And if you did want a 4090, the cheapest one, according to PC Part Picker, is gonna be $2,000. So yeah, we're definitely not fitting in a 4090 within a $2,500 build, total build budget. But so we have to go down to the previous gen, even though it was only made recently, the previous gen. RTX 3000 series cards are still very viable. Like, just because, again, the new stuff came out doesn't make automatically all the old stuff obsolete. So let's take a look at what we have there. Let's see what 3090s are going for across the different markets. So the cheapest one is 1160 for the Zotac one. Nima says, for $2,500, I'll build like a five $500 PCs and then flip them. That's true, but that's a lot of work. Why not build one $2,500 PC and flip it for like $3,000? Depends on what the profit margins you can get per. Jason Whitmer says, yo, that's a nice shirt. Where can I cop that? Thank you for asking, Jason. I think the merch store is in the description down below. I'm not going to pull up the website, though, because we have to get going on this PC part picker list. But thanks for the plug, Jason. How does the 13700K compare to the 12900K? That's actually a pretty good question. Let me pull up some quick benchmark numbers real quick. Okay, let's see. What's a trusted? So when I put this into the browser, let's see what. So CPU user benchmark, which I pretty much never go here, but let's go here this time because it'll be fun to do on stream. What is everyone's general opinions on user benchmark? For the most part, from what I've seen on social media, pretty much everybody says this is a horrible source, and basically not to use it. Was it both Hardware Unbox and Gamers Nexus that they either tweeted about or made specific videos specific to how crappy the rankings and scores on here are? Yeah, but just looking at this, let's actually take a look through here. Overclocked score. What are these points relative to? Do they give more details? I mean, this is probably using the, let's see. This is using their own, user benchmark test, right? But is there any other things aside from that give scores on? Patrick McGovern says, I always get a laugh out of user benchmark because of how much he freaks out about AMD. It's just so much hate, it's not even logical. Yeah, so incredibly biased towards non-AMD. Yeah, so I mean, just looking at this, I don't think it's... let's see. So they have all of that. CSGO, okay. For the most part, I usually care about gaming benchmarks, and then if they have numbers for like Premiere Pro, Blender, and stuff like that. Even though Cinebench isn't like directly applicable to people, I think just even seeing scores like that to see the relative like raw performance of each CPU side by side, I found that way more useful. But yeah, also that this website just looks like it's so archaic and outdated. All right, tech power up. That is a trusted source to me. Okay, let's see. Frame time analysis, overclock, performance summary, and performance per dollar. In relative applications, okay, this is a very general, so it is showing that if you're using the 13, do they break this down by gaming versus, okay, games, here we go. So, all right, so tech power up with some pretty good charts here. So using the 13700K as the reference, it does show the 12900K just in overall relative performance in applications coming in a little less. It looks like it's almost on par though. It's within 10%. You're looking at 91.5% versus like 100 here for the 13700K. Of course, overclocking is going to change the results, but just a quick overview look at it. So 13700K beating it there, and let's just look for gaming performance. It's 13700K is also beating it in 1080p by about 3% here. Here's 1440 and then 4K gaming. It's pretty much like within a percent or two there. So they're very comparable to each other. But it looks like the 13700K, if it's beating it in other applications, then what's the price difference between the two? So for the graphics card, let's see if we can fit in a 3090 into here. We'll adjust it as necessary. But we're already getting close to half of the budget here. So we go to CPU. Let's take a look at let's see if sorting by highest price brings us the stuff we want, and then we should filter it by LGA 1700. Boom, right here. Okay, so the most expensive LGA 1700 processors. Okay, we're not even gonna look at the i9 13900K because that thing's way too expensive. But if we look at the 12900K or KF, about almost 500 bucks versus the 13700K, which is 440. I mean, just looking at what we were seeing from Tech Power Up, I would probably choose the 13700K. It's newer, it performs better, and it's cheaper. So if we add this though, we're already at $1,600 and we only have the CPU and the graphics card. I think so we can go two ways with this. We can either downgrade the CPU so that we can actually come in at $2,500, or we downgrade the graphics card so we can come in at $2,500. I do not think you can really keep both of these without cutting corners on like the case, the power supply, the SSD and stuff like that. So I would much rather, because the 12700K is still it's still a really good CPU, as well as downgrading to, let's say, a 3080 or 3080 Ti. Those are really good too. When I originally did this, I went down on the CPU, but I'm curious for everyone else out there, the CPU or GPU? So it'll be 3080/Ti. Which we'll go with whatever people vote and we'll fill out the rest. My personal choice would be to go down to a 12700K. I think in general, I tend to lean towards having the graphics card being the most powerful component in the system, because it is going to be used for gaming. So I think there are more situations where you'll see higher performance with a better graphics card than you would with a CPU. Like a 12700K to a 13700K, I don't think for most users in everyday like gaming and whatever else you do, you're not going to notice that much more than going with a 3090 versus a 3080. Like that graphics card increase will show you like better frame rates as well as render times for specifically GPU like related render tasks. Yeah, so maybe, okay, not the Ti. Let's say 3080 versus 3090. I think the Ti is also going to cost quite a bit more too. So 6900 XT instead. No, so I actually, with Blender specifically, Blender has this benchmark. I'm not sure if you guys know about it, but if you want to, you can actually benchmark your own system using Blender's benchmark, which is really easy to download and use. But if we actually, let's take a look here. Top GPUs. So when I tested comparable cards, which is like the Intel Arc A770 versus the 6650 XT and the 3060, which all cost relatively in the ballpark of each other, and with gaming performance they're about the same, I noticed that in Blender specifically, the AMD cards fall quite a bit behind, and that's for the mid-range. So let me see. In the terms of the benchmarks, the top benchmarks for Blender are the NVIDIA cards. I don't even see AMD up here. Let me see if I can show more. Okay, median score. Come on, where's the AMD stuff at? Jason. I know she does have the money to spend on the PC, but still I would obviously consider AMD. Though I did do the comparisons, and I didn't find that AMD. Yeah, look at this. 6900 XT is pretty far down here compared to even like RTX 2000 series and 3060s and stuff. So AMD cards for Blender rendering, we can't go with AMD. We have to stick with NVIDIA because that was one of the requirements. So yeah, I know. Hey, I wanted to go with NVIDIA because I know what the use case is gonna be. So don't worry, Jason. There's no AMD bias in here. I'm not gonna try to shoehorn AMD into a system that needs the Blender performance. So what are the votes? Oh my goodness, you guys, how are you this split in terms of the votes right now? We've got a 51%. We're 50-50 now after 50 votes. It's a dead tie in terms of what to downgrade in the poll. CPU versus GPU. I'm gonna let it go for a few more votes. Oh, some people. Oh, now it's skewing towards the GPU down. Let me check out the CPU again. Did someone just say that the 12700 was more? I don't think that was the case. The 12700 is noticeably more inexpensive than the 13700. So let's see. 12700K costs $357, whereas the 13700K costs so it's about $80 more, which is not insignificant. Here it is. So 13700K right here for $440, and then about $360. I guess we could even go with the no, the KF costs more, so that makes no sense. So yeah, $360 versus $440. $80. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add that to like a power supply, that's a huge difference. A $50 versus $130 power supply is gonna get you a huge difference in terms of quality. Same with the case. Spending $50 for a case versus $130, you got to give somewhere, right? When you're working with a pretty, I guess, like determined budget. Yeah, 3080 is plenty for most people. And if you think about it, people can always upgrade graphics cards down the line, and it's less of a hassle than upgrading the CPU. So if you go for the higher end CPU now, you could just ride that wave for as long as possible. Alright, for sure. See you later, Joel. See you in a bit. So what are we doing? Alright, so I think the votes are pretty much in by this point. Most people voted for... Not most people. Barely. We barely squeezed in at the last moment there. 51% to downgrade the CPU to a 12700K, which also means we're not going to feel as guilty with getting a 600 series motherboard, which is going to be cheaper and going on DDR4. I feel like if you're going to be getting 13th gen i7, I don't know, I would feel almost obligated to buy a Z700 series motherboard, even though 600 series boards are compatible with it. I don't know. I just feel like I would feel like I would want to get the 700 series board, and because it is like very new, that I would feel obligated to go DDR5 memory, which still carries a little bit of a premium. But because if you could go down to a 12700K, I feel like it's more justified in choosing like a Z690 board as well as a set of DDR4 memory. So yeah, I think we'll go with that. So let me put in the 12700K. And again, I agree, Jason. It is hard to choose right now, which is why, like, at 12, like, if you only had $1,000 to spend, it's really easy to come up with a budget build that maximizes that much money. But when, like, at this weird price range, at this time of the hardware being released, you could go either way with new versus old gen, and still fill out the whole budget. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's more of why you would want to go one way or another. And I think personally, going with the 12700K, there are enough justified reasons to do so. So we'll go 12700K. We're gonna have to choose a CPU cooler. What is the cheapest AIO I would choose for this processor? We'll go for at least 240, if not 280. I don't want to spend too much here. We'll entertain 360 millimeters too. Arctic makes, how much are the Arctic ones? So if you go with ID cooling, you could get some really cheap coolers. Actually, any of you out there use ID cooling in your... I use a lot of ID cooling air coolers. I've not used a lot of ID cooling AIOs. If they're... I'm not too concerned about them though. I would totally use this if I needed an AIO in like a cheaper build. But I think we do have a little bit more money that we could spend. We don't have to spend like, you know, only 60 bucks on an AIO cooler. I haven't heard of any like widespread reported problems with these ID cooling AIOs. Though I guess to be fair, how long have they been in like the market for people to run them to the end of their life, right? So, but holy crap, yeah. Well, this is the Cooler Master one. Why is this only $40? It's because it's actually, it's a rebate. I don't count mail-in rebates just because they're annoying to deal with, and you still have to spend the money up front. So we're gonna ignore the $40. Though, yo, if anyone is interested, actually, let me get you guys a link for this. Give me 1 second, real quick. If anyone is interested in looking at this, okay. Let me get the short Newegg link so I can put it in there for you. Okay, so let me get off that. So here's a $40. No, this isn't a competition-ish. This is just putting together a build that someone actually approached me for. I already put together one list that I sent them, but I'm curious what the audience would go for. So it's $40, Cooler Master AIO. That is a heck of a deal. So I'll pin that for anyone interested. This is a crazy good deal, but I'm not going to choose it just because of the mail-in rebate. If you're okay with mail-in rebates, definitely feel free to pick one of these up. Yeah, this is crazy cheap. So for the cooler, we're not gonna go with let's see, then you start to getting the 80 bucks. Where's the, how much is the Arctics going for? I like how they have really deep radiators. So that's just more fin surface for better cooling. Arctic freezer 240 for 105. How much is their 280? If it's not that much more, I would grab it. Arctic freezer 280 RGB for 120. Do they have a side profile of this? Yeah, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. The thickness of the radiator is noticeably more on the Arctic liquid freezer than for all those other brands that we saw that was cheaper earlier. And Arctic has a pretty good track record with their coolers. For a $2,500 build, I would not feel guilty throwing something like this in there at all. Yeah, Jason is correct. The Cooler Master rebates, you can get them on Amazon too if you, for whatever reason, don't like Newegg. Amazon does have way better shipping, and in my experience, like what's it called? Trouble-free return policies. So if I could and the prices were the same, I usually choose Amazon over Newegg for convenience. But yeah, the rebate, they do have a lot of rebates over there as well. Okay, so right now we're already at $1,600. We have $900 left to fill. Let's find a motherboard. Don't have to go with anything too crazy here. Because we have a K processor, I do want to grab at least a Z board so that it could be overclocked, at least to some degree down the line if she ever wants to tinker with it. But let's see how much those start at. ASRock, okay, and we're gonna go with the standard mid tower, so no micro ATX. MSI Pro Z690. This is really one of the lower end boards. The Pro Z690A. Okay, yeah, the other one did not have USB-C header, which I feel like for a build this at this price point, you need to get something that, you know, for a case that has USB-C up front, that you can actually plug it in and make use of it. So this does have USB-C as a front header, as well as I think in the back. There's no picture where you can zoom in about it, but let's see how much the Tomahawk costs. Where is the Tomahawk down on this list? So we're looking at either so the Tomahawks start at $260. I think we're gonna have to go a little bit cheaper on the motherboard here if we want to maintain. We'll probably have to. I don't know if we can keep the graphics card. Let's see. If possible, if we could stay under $200 for the motherboard, that would be ideal, because we're coming up on that $2,500 really fast. Aorus Elite Ultra Light, that's an ITX board. Nope, we can't go with that one. Though I'm surprised an ITX board costs that little relative to everything else. Yeah, most of these under $200 boards are gonna be, yeah, like this one. Like this looks like an H510 rear IO. It does have USB-C header right here though, so. What was Nemus's thing? I missed it. Nemus, $100 PC challenge next. Could be an interesting video. Yeah, $100 for a PC. You're basically getting a $50 Optiplex and throwing in like a $50 graphics card, something like an RX 550 or 560, or even like a GT 1030, which requires no upgrading to the power supply, and that's it. That's like the only way to realistically do a $100 PC build without getting free parts or finding stuff in the dump by some miraculous, like, you know, luck. Yeah, so Z690 Gaming X. Let's take a look what this looks like. Okay, dude, these pictures kind of suck. I wish they had better product pictures. We're gonna have to go to Newegg itself and take a look. All right, let's take a look at this board. So it comes in at how much? 210. The thing about motherboards is you could spend so much more on a motherboard. You can spend 400 or 200 on a motherboard. I think for most people it's not gonna make a huge world of difference. This one, I mean, it has plenty of USB-C in the back. How many? Let's look at. It probably has room for what, 2 NVMe drives. Here we go. Can this zoom in? Yeah, Type C 3.2 Gen 2 header on the front. So this is gonna be an Intel build, Eduardo. Yeah, so it's either gonna be something like this Gigabyte Z690, or I think I'm gonna let's look at some of the cheaper options. MSI Pro Z690P. Oh wait, we already looked at that. That thing's bare bones as heck. Z690 Pro RS. Nope. Yeah. Like, look at this. Steel Legend. Here we go. Okay, that's. Wish there was a little bit more regular USB slots, but let's see what the front of the board is looking like. Yeah, so 2 M.2s, pretty standard there. How much is this one? 172. Don't forget to hydrate. Thank you. This may sound ambitious, but I think you can fit, yeah, I think you can fit 13700K, but you're gonna be going really bare bones on like things like I said earlier, case, power supply, motherboard. I would rather choose a 12700K and give a little bit of breathing room. Though with the motherboard right now, there's the thing about motherboards is there's so many choices to choose from, and there's not a ton of. I think Hardware Unboxed does a really good job in terms of their motherboard roundups, but there's not a ton of different like reviews out there that actually, like, you know, throw in a really crazy like i9 chip to fully test boards to their full capabilities. So what does this look like? Okay, decent rear IO. I mean, everything on this one looks fine. What is this? The Gigabyte Z690 UD. This is one of the more budget ones, but I mean, it's 190 bucks. I'm just gonna choose this so we can get moving. But I mean, you could argue forever about which board and how much you should spend on a motherboard. But I think around 200 or less is what I would feel should be adequate for a build at this price point. Okay, so we're already at $1,800. Memory, oh god, I love it when we get to memory because this is like the easiest thing ever. So for a build like this, what are you guys thinking? You can either go 32 gigabytes or 64. I'm gonna see what 64 looks like. I don't think it's gonna be that expensive. Like, let's look at 64, and we're gonna go with the standard stuff. We're not gonna buy any B-die or anything like that for the marginal gains. Let's see. So if you want 4x16, did the price of memory just go up? I could have sworn we were seeing 64 gigs for like 150 on pretty normal sales, like not even a month or two ago. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to. This is a little bit more expensive than I thought. 64 gigabytes is overkill, but it does afford you to multitask quite a bit. Like, you can run literally as many Chrome tabs as you want, Discord, play video in the background, play music, while rendering out a scene in Blender while playing games. But yeah, just seeing these prices, I was not expecting it to be that much. So I think, and I would go 2x16 for the ability to upgrade down the line. What are we looking at here? Oh yeah, you're right. Is there 2x32? Let's see what those prices look like. That's a good point. Though 2x32, I guess I would have rather had it split and populated all of the channels, because I don't think they're gonna really need to upgrade beyond 64 in the future. So, but let's see what this looks like. 2x32. We got the slow stuff. DDR, let's see, 2400, 32. Like, here's a cheap one right here, but it's CL22. We're looking for like 3200 CL16, which is gonna be this Team Group T-Crate Expert. This is like their pretty budget brand, but in terms of everything else, looks pretty standard. $160. I don't know, what are you guys thinking? If we go 2x16, the price is gonna cut about in half. And that can save money for like a better power supply and stuff. I think 32, let's go with 32. Let's see, what is it? 2x16, and with room to upgrade. We're not gonna go 4x8 though. I don't think there's a reason to do that. Yeah, 32 gigs is enough. And we're gonna just choose, what is the most affordable? It's gonna be that Team Group. What is the cheapest RGB kit in case you want an RGB? Probably like 90 bucks. Yeah, there's, again, and I can't stress this enough, there's no like absolute right or wrong choice here. Look at this. Most of the RAM on this list you could probably choose and justify for being in this build. It comes down a little bit to personal preference. At some point, once you get like, you know, your speed and like the latency down to what you want. And again, we're going for that real world latency of 10 nanoseconds, which is going to be 3600. CL18 is going to be similar to that too. So what am I going to choose here? I honestly think the Team Group T-Crate is really ugly. So let me hurry up and choose one so we can move on from here. G-Skill Ripjaws. Where's the black ones? I actually think those look quite nice. 90 bucks. Versus what's the cheapest stuff down here? Screw it, we'll choose the $75 one. We're gonna choose the $75 kit because even though the slightly better looking like G-Skill ones are 90, and then B-Die is gonna be way more, it's gonna be noticeably more expensive than that. But $15 in the grand scheme of like the price of RAM, that's quite a bit of a savings. So it's ugly RAM, but who cares? Yeah, I want to go with the Ripjaws, but I cannot, for the same exact specs, just for different heatsinks, just by spending $15 more on that. I just can't. So we're going with good old Team Group T-Crate experts here. And then for storage, we're looking at 1 terabyte here. You could always go more, but 1 terabyte starts many people off. Plus, storage is a pretty easy thing to add. And 1 terabyte is going to give you enough space for operating system, programs, and a decent amount of storage for games. So we got to go SSD here, and we're going to go, let's look at Gen 4 versus Gen 3 drives and see. I think, what's the cheapest Gen 4 drive actually? The cheapest Gen 4 drive, 1 terabyte, okay, Kingston NB2, that's like their, like, kind of lower end budget line. 70 bucks. Okay, now when we add in Gen 3, the cheapest one is going to be Silicon Power PNY for around $60. Yeah, I know. I said RAM was easiest. It's easy if you're a person who doesn't really care much about like aesthetics or things like that, but there's also tons of options which are all almost equivalent to each other, which then again makes it hard. So I guess that's like a contradictory in itself. RAM is both easy and hard to choose at the same time. All right, but for storage, let's see. I guess there's no reason not to go with Gen 4 PCIe due to it being relatively cheap. $80 Team Group Cardera Z44L. I mean, this is, how much is this? It's normally 73 at Newegg. This is usually a pretty good budget one. I've used this drive before. Most drives I use are fine, actually. So we're going to just choose a representative drive. 1 terabyte. I guess we're going Team Group for memory and storage on this one. After all this water, yeah, I'm going to need a break. Okay, let's see. All right, we're at the part of the build now where you're not really gonna, so where are we at? $1,900. We have $500. Really? We have $500 left to spend? What are we missing? We're missing a case, a power supply, and we're gonna assume you have other means of getting Windows that is not a $100 Windows CD key. So we might be able to go boost some of these other things up. Let's choose a power supply. Depending on the graphics card you get, we're gonna want at least 850 watts, or 1,000 if you're really gonna get like a 3090, or upgrade to like a 4000 series card. But let's take a look at least a minimum of 800 watt power supply, 850 watt rather. Let's see and price them from there. When you start getting up to this range, you start to see less and less of like the lower tier. I guess a PVS signature, 850 BQ. What is? And remember, this is gonna be a recommendation to a friend, so I would want to put in like a power supply that I would personally think that would last the longest and have the most like trouble-free, you know, no issues for them for as long as possible. Typically, that means it's going to be the more expensive ones that have like 10-year warranties, and like Seasonic is one brand that I can, for the most part, recommend if you want longevity. But how far do we have to go down to find one of those? Aries game, Aries game 1000 watt. Okay, actually, I'm Jason. How much does this cost? The Aries game 1000 watt power supply. See all buying options. You can buy a used one for $100. That is a little bit more expensive than I would have expected. I don't think are there any reviews on this out there? We're gonna use the PSU tier list for a quick reference check because they do pull in all the different reviews. But don't just take this as is. Are you kidding me? The only Aries game power supply is on tier F. Replace immediately on here. Okay, so yeah, I don't know anything about this power supply, but it's just funny because Aries game is one of the budget brands, and going for a 1000 watt power supply, even though it's 80 plus gold, that's kind of a funny thought to me. The bias tier list, yeah. Well, I'm okay with C tier and above on that tier list. Let's see, the Corsair RM850, this is actually like a really well put together power supply. If you look at the reviews, like the actual professional reviews, pretty much scores high marks across the board. So that's one I usually go for. Is that the cheapest one though on this list? Fantex Amp is actually really good too for 110. So you have a lot of options for power supplies. Let me go down the list and see. So yeah, Fantex Amp or Corsair, you can go with either or. It said replace immediately, yeah. Alright, let's go with Fantex Amp just because between these two brands, I think these are both either B or A tier. But tier list aside, they're both going to get the job done. They're both reliable. What is the warranty on this? Warranty. Do they put it out there? Honestly, at this point, they're within $5 of each other. So I would go with the one that has the longer warranty, to be honest. Alright, this Fantex one. Specs. Do they put the warranty on here? How is this hard to find? Oh, warranty and returns. Fantex 10 years, and I think the Corsair is also 10 years, but we'll see. Reviews, specs. Come on, Newegg, get all. Okay, warranty. Okay, both the Corsair RM850 and the Fantex Amp 850 are they're the same price ish. They're within $5 of each other. They both have 10-year warranties. You could go with either. I'm going to choose the Fantex. So now what are we looking at? We still have a 3090, which we might have to up the power supply if we have more money left over. We're looking at $2,100. So what case do you guys... Alright, for this one, I don't want to have to choose fans separate from cases. I'm just going to try to find a case, and you guys feel free to throw out recommendations. Any case that is already pre-populated with all the fans that we need. So we're looking for, you know, a typical mid-sized tower. We're looking for front fans populated and at least a rear fan. Bonus points if they have the top fans populated. Actually, no, we don't want top fans. We have an AIO that we're going to stick at the top. What else is a requirement for this case? That's pretty much it. And I guess airflow in the front panel. Land Cool 3. I do like the Lian Land Cools. I'm just... Man, DIY PC. Jason Whitmer with a DIY PC, which is at the bottom of the price, like, range. We got some Cooler Master cases. I think we're gonna have to spend around like $120 to $150 to get all the requirements I listed out. So all these cheap cases, they're gonna have something wrong with them in terms of like they're gonna be missing fans, they're gonna be lower build quality, etc. So what's that? The AIO is 280 millimeters, so we do have to have support for that. Does PC Part Picker have that for a filter? I think once you start getting into the more premium brand cases that are mid towers, they realize that people are going to be putting bigger radiators up top. So as long as we're in the right price range for a case, we can check the compatibility afterwards. But I think we're going to be... I'm going to set a bare minimum. Look at this. There are so many cases that are compatible according to PC Part Picker for many pages to go. We're gonna have to set a minimum here. We're spending at least $100 on a case, so that should get rid of all the cheapo stuff. Land Cool, yeah. So I do like the Lian Li Land Cool cases. We do have a bunch of stuff like the Antex. Yeah, this one has fans populated, but I don't really like that case. Fractal Design Pop Air. Let's take a look at that. Actually, these cases are pretty interesting because they do have the kind of like the themed colors going on inside of them. If I picked one of these, I would honestly pick a black one because I do not want to lock somebody into a color scheme. But this does come with 2 front fans, 1 rear fan. The tempered glass is held on by a glued on lip and not drilled through the glass, so I like that about it. Fractal design, for the most part, I've never really heard complaints about fractal design cases. They do usually cost a bit more, but I mean, look, the back here looks like there's plenty of room too. Wait, Craig, what's your case? What's your case? Which case did I just hit on accidentally? Actually, let's go with this one actually. Just because I've never built in one of these, I should probably plan for something eventually. But yeah, let's go with the Pop Air. Let me make sure it's compatible though, with the radiator up top, because we are going with a 280. PC Part Picker says it is, but I want to double check just in case. Radiator support. Top radiator. Fan options. 280. Oh no. This is interesting. Hey, what's up, Christopher Coonan? Wait, what sucks? The case? I mean, with the case, it's one of those things that it's whatever you want, right? It's definitely personal preference. You just need to find something that fits all the parts that you are choosing. This is interesting. It fits 2 140 millimeter fans, which is what a 280 millimeter would have, but It must be limited in space in terms of like the tubes or something. Max 46mm RAM height. No, so we can't choose this case. I don't want to go down to a 240mm radiator. I think we want to actually get pretty good cooling on the 1270K. So yeah, the Mobo is going to be way too close to the top. Yeah, these cases, even though they're mid towers, they look really close to being like micro ATX. So they are a little bit more limited in space. I can totally see that. All right, let's just see. Yeah, when you get a turbo cock case, Zach's been making some videos and shorts about that. That's a pretty funny name. Antec case to 501. All right, so let's look at Lee like land cool stuff for a second, and then I'll also pull up the we want something that already has the pre-populated front fans. Lee Land Cool 2, something like this. I actually like this one because it has 2 hinged panels as well as the front for the drives and stuff. It's a mesh right here down here. So we'll consider this one, and then Shauner said which one? Antec 501. Okay. And Antec, how come that's not popping up? It says it's not compatible for some reason, Shauner. I don't know why. Antec 501. Yeah, Antec Dark Phantom. Is it the DP 501 that you're talking about? Hopefully not. Cause I can't do with these cases that have like these kind of weird shapes. Like I prefer my cases for the most part to be square on all edges. Square and parallel. I don't like these cases that have like these weird things. But I don't know if this is the case that you're talking about. The 501. This is the only 501 I'm seeing. Yeah, that wasn't it. So let's take a look at what Antec DP 501 is. The only thing I'm seeing when I Google it. Antec 501. Okay, yeah, if you can find it, that'd be great. And you should be able to link it in the chat. Alright, so we got the Land Cool 2. Let's look at, and then someone said the Land Cool 215. Okay, so Land Cool 215 has the 2 gigantic fans in the front. What size are these fans again? Do they put it on here? But you got either... It's a very similar design and look. So you got 2 gigantic, I think 200mm fans, right? Versus these are, I believe, 120mm. But overall, like if you look at the way the case is designed, I guess the tempered glass is full panel here, and on here it's only top panel, and this one has the hinge. But the front looks pretty similar with whatever's going on down here. What's the price of these Land Cool cases? The 215, I think, just looks baller, though, because of these 2 fans. Between the 2, though, if I'm gonna suggest it for someone, I think I would lean towards the Land Cool 2 for the hinges. Be Quiet 500DX. Okay, let's pull that one up as well. 500DX. Oh, okay. So how much does this thing cost? About 110. I think so. Be Quiet is gonna have their fans in here, so that is good. So there's nothing wrong with this case. This is a perfectly viable case. Aesthetically, I don't like what's going on in the front here, which is all personal preference. I don't know. I like, for the most part, if I can keep my mesh unbroken. They put it here, I guess, so that they can have the LED lights here. Cooling wise, I doubt it's gonna make that much of a difference if it was all mesh versus having this here. I just don't know why I don't like the look of it, and I cannot explain why. But that versus just a full mesh front from like this case, I prefer this more. Also, maybe it's because I prefer seeing the fan LEDs through the mesh, Whereas this one, you don't really see it. It's like a much more condensed mesh. And the focus isn't as much on the fans as it is the front ones, right? I guess they don't have any examples of what it looks like with LED fans in here. Oh, DP505 is what Shauna was talking about. So let me pull this up. So a lot of people are weighing in on a lot of different cases. We have to move on though. Oh, this case? Okay. So Antec, man, they are really trying to make their cases look different. So this has maximum expansion potential. This is a really interesting looking case. It's too flashy for my tastes. Like with the front going on here, again, I'm a simple guy. Just put a full mesh cover. Also, it looks like it's a little. You see how it has a little bit of a roundedness to it. There's like a roundedness. I'm not a big fan of that, personally. But otherwise, this case doesn't look like there's anything majorly wrong with it. It all comes down to personal preference. So, yeah, there you go. That's a good way to explain it. Alien Pod Front, says Spank Buddha. I think that's a great way to explain anything that has kind of like a curvature like this in the front. I just not a fan. I'm very boring and vanilla, unfortunately. So, yeah. See, what is she a fan of though? Honestly, I asked her about case preferences, RGB and stuff like that. She really didn't have too much of a preference. So I guess I could. I'll recommend this to her, or I'll like. What I normally do is whatever case I'm thinking of, I send it to them and then say, do you have any issues with this case, or do you want it to look a certain way? I did ask for what her preference for form factor is, and she definitely does want mid-tower, because I was trying to push the idea of ITX if she was interested, but she's not. So yeah, for the case, this one's going for 120. Yeah, anywhere between like 100 to 150 bucks. There's like literally hundreds of cases you could use. We're gonna, what do I have here? I think I'm gonna lean towards the Lian Li 2 Mesh C. That's 110, and that's just gonna fill in the price. But what are we coming in at now? We're at 2,200 bucks. All right. Sorry, this is taking a little bit longer, but there's just. You could easily put together a PC part picker list if you don't talk things through in like 15 or 20 minutes. But as I just showed, we've been spending like an hour on this because there's so much to choose at a $2,500 price point. You have so many options as you have more money to spend. And it is almost like, it's almost difficult to lock in on a build. We have $300 left to spend. Let's look at everything again, and I'm gonna zoom. I can't zoom out, but my face is in the way, so I'm gonna move myself. Can I move myself? Yeah, I'm gonna move myself over here for now. Well, we're looking at this $2,200, and we filled out an entire build, which for the most part features a 1270K AIO cooler, Z690 board, 32 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, Gen 4. A 3090 LAN cool 2 mesh case, and then a good, top tier power supply, 850 watts. Extra money. Okay, so we have 300 bucks left to spend, which you don't have to spend the money. Remember something that I stress all the time. Just because you have that much money to spend doesn't mean you have to spend all of it. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to save this list as well. I'm going to send it to her and say, hey, we could build you a very solid PC for $2,200. Would you like to do that? Or do you really want to spend the end of your budget? But just for the purpose of the title of this stream, we're going to go up to $2,500. So now we have to decide what are we going to do. We already have a 3090. We do not have enough to spend for a 4090, unfortunately, because a 4090 is going to cost $400 more, and that pushes us over budget. Throw some Noctua fans in that bad boy. Oh man, I don't know. I've always found it hard to justify because I don't know, noise levels and the thermal differences isn't gonna be enough for me to justify spending hundreds of dollars on fans. How much are 3 Noctua fans? Like, I would so rather spend that money on more storage space, a better CPU, a better GPU, anything else. I don't know why. Hard drives? No. So she's gonna be transferring drives over from her old build. So I think storage-wise, we're pretty much set. So for $300, we do have a lot of wiggle room for. We could even keep a Z690 board and go up to a 13700K. Because remember, it's LGA 1700. I think you have to do a BIOS update, but for the purposes of this, let's just assume you can figure that out somehow. Yeah, so let me look at, a lot of people are saying to do fans. Let me see. Let me see what Noctua fans are going for. Like, let's say if you were to replace the front fans. 23 bucks a piece. Actually, no. We would probably replace all 6 fans. So how much would they be? You would need 2 140 fans and then 4 120 fans. So we're gonna go 140 and 120. Noctua fans, are you guys familiar with some of these other Noctua fans and their performance? We, like, what are the standard, yeah, A15, A14s? What are these really cheap Noctua fans? Has anyone used these? $14 for a single fan, which by Noctua's, you know, typical pricing is very inexpensive. Doback slaps. Oh wait, the Lian Li case fans are adjustable with the control in the case. I have that case. Yeah, so I don't, honestly, I've used that Lian Li case. The fans are fine, and they have RGB, which look cool. But I don't know. I don't feel like and the Arctic AIO is gonna come with pretty good fans as well. I can't justify spending more money on fans for not that much of a difference in, like, quality of life in general. So yeah, what else could we go for? I mean, $300. Let's see what the price looks like if we go up to a 13700K. Well, we know what it's gonna be like. It's gonna be like $80 more, right? 13700K. So with 13700K, we're closing in at $2,300. Patrick McGovern says, I've never spent more than 10 bucks on a single fan and I don't plan to. Lol. In my own personal systems, I typically am good with the case fans that come with it. So I would agree with that sentiment, Patrick. I've helped people build systems where they wanted to use more expensive fans, but for me personally, yeah, I try to use, you know, stock fans and try to use cases that come with decent stock fans just so that I don't have to spend, because, you know, if you're buying aftermarket fans from, like, any of the more, like, non-Amazon cheapo brands, they're pretty expensive. Upgrade RAM. Yeah, so so power supply, we have room to go up. I would feel much more comfortable going with a 1000 watt power supply, because we do have a 3090 here. If it was a 3080, I'd be perfectly fine with going with a 850 watt. So the Fantex amp 1000 watt, okay. Yeah, so we'll go with this one, 160. We're at 20. We're still like $170-ish away from the total price. 13600K is faster than the 12700K for reference. For what, gaming? I could see that for gaming. For full multi-threaded workloads, would it perform better? Let me see. Let me see if there's any quick charts we could pull up from a reputable source. Tech power up. Okay, nope, they don't have that. I think the 13600K is still pretty new. Or WCCF Tech. Nope, they have a 12700 versus 13700. Hardware times. I mean, I'm sure Gamers Nexus or Hardware Unboxed did something, but I don't want to have to pull up a video for that. Yeah, let's see if the Gamers Nexus has an article. So they have the review here. Come on, where's the article? I'm just gonna put 13600K in here and see if. Dang, did they not do a written version for this? All right, we're gonna have to go to the video for the charts. Quality, and go to 1080p. All right, so let's see gaming benchmarks. We're just gonna go through a bunch of random ones. Okay, 13600K is right here. It's 12700K. Oh wait, no, yeah, and 12700K is right behind it, so not too big of a difference there. But let's see. Let's look at a heavier title. This is the Gamers Nexus CPU benchmark. Okay. This is a long chart. Where's all the other charts? Did Steve just fly through them? That's a CPU. Okay, where's all the other Tomb Raider tests? He doesn't show all of them on here. Far Cry 6. Okay, that's a pretty new open world title. There should be a Blender test. So let's see. Well, I think for Blender, the GPU is gonna perform. GPU is gonna perform way better than the CPU. So that's not as much of a concern there. For the CPU side of things, I guess we would want to choose whatever's best for gaming. Yeah, 3080 Ti and 3090 are pretty close to each other. What is their price differences by this point is pretty close too, right? So if we added another video card, let's look at a 3080 Ti. See what the cheapest one is. 3080 Ti for Zotac, so it's gonna be $1,000. So it's $150 price difference. You could go with either. Though for gaming, I don't think it's gonna be that big of a difference. I don't know if that video memory is gonna make a big difference for Blender though. I would have to actually look at some charts like these to see. So let's see. Cyberpunk, here we go. Okay. Do we have a bigger chart for Cyberpunk? We don't. Blender cycle, CPU rendering, here we go. Blender, so in time in minutes, so you want the lower time, and the 12700 and 13600K, they're almost neck and neck. So across the two, they're pretty almost the same. Puget Systems also has one. Okay, so we could. Okay, wait, did they test it here? Chromium, compression, decompression, Adobe Premiere, Blender cycles. I mean, yeah. So across gaming and for Blender, which is what the PC is going to specifically be used for, it does look like the 13600K edges it out to 12700K almost in every way. What's the price on that? Let me look at the 13600K. So that's gonna be $300. So we could actually save a little bit more money there. If we went with the 3080 Ti, yeah, I mean, I guess the way to fill out the rest of the build now would be with more storage or RAM, or like spend more on case or case fans, because we're still not gonna fit a 4090 in here. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Chris. So the gaming performance I wasn't really surprised about. I'm really surprised though with the difference in terms of the core count and thread count that the 13600K actually beats out the 12700K. I thought it would have lost by a little bit there. So I thought they would have traded blows, you know, in gaming versus other multi-threaded workloads. Yeah, that's pretty surprising. So we do get to save a little bit of money, about $50 going down to a 13600. I call it going down, but it's not really going down. It's like a side grade. Yeah. Would a Fantex P500A fit a 4090? It depends on which 4090 you're getting. But Fantex and whatever graphics card you're getting, you should be able to go to each of their respective websites and look at the length of the card and if the case supports it. But yeah, it really depends on what specific card you're getting. They are cannibalizing their own stack, lol. Like the difference between i7 9700K and i7 8700K. Oh, Shane, did you point that earlier? My apologies for missing that. But okay, we do have to get the Twitter sides of things. In terms of a, we're gonna delete the 3080. You know what? No, we're gonna go with the 3080 Ti. It's the cheaper card. I'm going back and forth. Blender. It all comes down to the Blender results. There's a Reddit question on this. Open data Blender, okay. Let's see if they have any. We'll take a look here. 3080 Ti versus 3090. The scores, oh man, I've got to zoom in for you guys to see this. This is what's going to decide. So there is a pretty, if we look at this chart, let me clear this off. Zotac, a lot of people actually have complaints about Zotac, so we're going to go back and change out the Zotac card because based on what we're seeing here, we're not going to need a 3090 Ti. If we look at the Blender performance for the graphics cards, it looks like the 3090, look at this score. It's 1 point difference, 5953 versus 5952. But there is a pretty noticeable difference between the 3080 Ti and a 3080. So from here to here, it's like more than a 10% difference. But from here to here, negligible. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to finish off this build by going back. Where's the PC part picker list? Oh no, did I lose it? I know it's back here. We're gonna get rid of. We're gonna choose a 3080 Ti, but we're gonna see what other brands we have for different prices. Zotac, Asus Gaming for $1,100. Still cheaper than 3090, and not a Zotac card. So, MSI Gaming X Trio. Wow, that one's $1,200. So yeah, pretty much this kind of plain Jane Asus Tough Gaming one, which I've actually used the 3070 in this model. If we went with that, we're sitting at $2,130, and pretty much I don't know what else to really do with this build except for if you want to squeeze out a 13700 in here, we could still get it within budget. But yeah, I mean, we've got pretty much everything good to go. Oh, I guess we could choose. All right, you know what? We're gonna choose slightly more expensive memory. Okay, we'll get something with RGB. We'll get at least a so we're gonna go with the 2x16 because we're still not gonna be overkill there, and we're gonna choose the first RGB kit of RAM that we can get. Ah, the Geo ones? No, we're not going with that one. We're gonna go with the first one that's not Geo. Mushkin, okay. What happened to the Team Group Delta RGBs? Can we go DDR5? We could, but I still... is there any... I don't think there's any information. Let's see. I'm not sure, did anyone do any specific testing? Core i9... Crucial, what test did they do? Ray tracing... Yeah, I don't know if I would... Oh yeah, that... I don't know if I would go DDR5 with this still. I would have to see the numbers side by side to see if it's worth justifying. Wow, Team Group Deltas are that much more of a premium. Let me move this back over here. You know what? We're just gonna stick with some plain old Vulcan Z's then. Which I can't even find. Oh, here they are. 80 bucks. So just a little bit more. Why does the stream keep buffering? Okay. Is anyone else experiencing problems like with the stream either lagging, buffering, or low quality? Hopefully not. Zotac Halo 3090 for 1150 instead. Was that really going for that much? Doback, I hope you're still there. We're still gonna look at your setup. Doback. Report in, Doback. Report in. Nah, I think based on Zotac customer service and stuff like that, between that, because the performance is so close, and because I would rather, between the two brands, I usually don't have brand preferences. I would lean maybe one brand or another, but definitely in this case, I don't like Zotac's designs. They also have a worse reputation with customer service. I would rather go with the Asus card. Or 50 bucks less, but the same, pretty much the same performance. You get overclock to get it to perform as good as this, this 3090, so. Yes, he's still here, okay. Alright, this build is done. Millions of ways we could do it. But I'm gonna cap it off at 2134. Hopefully, I'll give her this option along with the ones where I did fill out to $2,500. And we'll see if she's gonna be happy with saving more money. Also, Doback slaps with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Kirsty was gifted a membership. Bradley, Walton, War Totems, Foxtrot, and It's Kevin were all gifted memberships. So, thank you. We'll let those play out as we go on. If you guys have anything to look over at on Twitter, be sure to send them over, just like Doback Slaps did here. So you send it over on Twitter, and then you tag me at Nerd on a Budget so that I can get it in my notifications right here. Right? And then I could pull it up on Twitter. So we do have 2 submissions right now. I'll let these continue to play though, and have you guys on screen, and then we'll get over to Twitter. Kevin Go with a reminder for water. Thank you. Shauner says, at this rate, should I cancel on my sub and just bank on getting a gifted from Doback? Honestly, there are a lot of normal viewers in the stream that, because Doback Slaps cannot, or whoever donates gifted memberships, they cannot choose who gets them. And there are a lot of people who are frequently in here every single stream and participate in chat and stuff, and some of them still have not gotten memberships yet, so I wouldn't really bank on it, even though Doback and Citrus and Mike and a bunch of other people do donate quite a bit. There are still some people who have never received the membership because of YouTube's randomness, which I don't know how I feel about that. Can anyone comment as to whether or not Twitch is the same way? Like, when people do massive Twitch sub donos, do they get to choose? I guess if you're gifting 100 subs, how do you even choose 100 people? And are they even all online at that given point in time? Jason Wimmer says, can I have a free computer? No. People who ask for free computers do not get free computers. Unless I actually ask you to ask me for one by writing a prompt or something like that. But in general, no. No free computer for you, Jason. Some people don't have to give. Oh yeah, if you are a normal viewer of the stream, I don't think it hurts to turn gifts on, right? Except for you see that gift button on every channel you go to that has it. But the benefits from it is that you could be gifted a membership, which, you know, makes you have a little cool icon and be able to use little dino nuggets and tater tots, as well as me cheering in the chat. So yeah, if you want a chance at a random gifted membership, definitely turn them on. But if not, then that's fine too. Shauna says, you can choose on Twitch? Okay, interesting. Yo, YouTube, they need to get that fixed. Comments on... Alright. I will comment on $8 Twitter. I'm going to leave this comment here while we go over to Twitter, because I said I would do Twitter first. So let's go over to Twitter. And we got the legendary Doback Slaps with their new PC and their overall setup shown here. So Doback Slaps, very, very legendary participant of just the weekly streams. Always generous in gifting out memberships to other people, as well as, you know, also participating in chat and stuff like that. So, ooh, we got a video. What? It's a 1 second video. It's more like a... Yeah, it's more like an animated picture, I guess you could say. Alright, so big Rick and Morty fan, it looks like. Oh, you've got that, the Hyte. I call it the fish tank case because I have a horrible memory when it comes to remembering the model numbers and names of cases. But it's the Hyte fish tank. Yeah. Okay, so you got a stream deck. You have your 2 monitors. You do have a really small keyboard. Logitech mouse with the... Okay, wrist rest and all of that stuff. You do look like you have a cat tree over here. Can we get pictures of the cat? I want to see pictures of the cat. But yeah, you got your stream. Yeah, it looks like you have the same Elgato face cam that I have up here, if I'm not mistaken. Your mic's up here, as well as a ring cam. Or not a ring cam, a ring light rather. So very, very pretty, you know, nice PC, nice setup, monitor setup and everything. There's your PC here. Daniel Lopez says, are you going to put the i9 13900K to replace the i7 12700K, Danny? No, for my uses, I don't think I would ever need to use an i9 personally. Like, slightly longer render times for me is not a big deal. I've never been in a situation where I'm like, oh, I need to cut off 1 minute from, you know, this project that I'm exporting or anything like that. Like, plus, I use hardware, rendering for Premiere Pro, which is like my biggest use case of it anyway. So yeah, I don't know, it just, if I was given one for free, yeah, sure, but I wouldn't go out of my way to use an i9 for the most part. But yeah, okay, so you got Groot in your system here. Very nice. I love how you have the Dale Doback from Step Brothers in your LCD screen here. You are all about that Doback, huh? And then here are all your parts laid out on your couch. So you have the, man, you got the ROG Strix Gaming 4090. Not only is it like a top tier card, you have the top tier like board partner or, you know, AIB version of that card. How much did, if you don't mind sharing, how much did this cost you again, Doback? This is not $1,600, I'm pretty sure. There's like a probably a few $100 premium. I wouldn't be surprised if this was $1,900 to $2,000. I don't remember if you told us how much it cost last stream, but yeah, very ROG Crosshair motherboard. Look at all these SSDs. We've got 2 times 2 terabyte 980 Pros, 2 times 1 terabyte 980 Pros, 2 terabyte 870 QVO. Dobex has $1 billion. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got a Ryzen 9 as well, 7950X. There are people who want the very best performance out of their PCs, and Doback is one of them. I'm glad we could get along though, Doback, because I feel like I'm kind of on the opposite spectrum of that. I never in my life would I ever personally go and buy like a 4090 ROG Strix or a 7950X, especially when it's still the current processor. I might buy one if it's like 1 or 2 generations behind because of the discounts. But yeah, to me this is like a crazy high-end build. Very cool. 8K total? Are you kidding me? 8K for the build? Yeah, I mean, you are using like Corsair parts and stuff too. Dang. Okay, let me, where's the $8 Twitter comment? I want to bring that one back up so we don't forget. Apparently I can't find the original comment, so I'm gonna have to leave this one up. Alright, but yeah, very cool. There's nothing budget in that build. Well, Doback Slaps was working to a budget of $8,000. You can say that about it in terms of he has a big budget. You can have big budgets. Budget doesn't have to mean cheap or inexpensive. Doback Slaps got way bigger budgets than most people here. Alright, so thank you for submitting that. Very awesome. Would love to see the cat pictures to follow up, but thanks for showing your setup in PC build, Doback. Very cool to see. Alright, next up we have a bunch of cats. We got cat pics now. Alright, next we got JQ though. $2,500 build. It says JQ. So how did JQ go about doing this? Very similar. So 1200K. Z63. So the Kraken, for being a the Z63, is that the 240 or 281? I forget. I think it's a 73 that's a 280, right? So this one's, I think, 240. Oh, no, it's 280. Okay, so you're paying a big premium for an NZXT cooler. But a Strix B660 board, even though you have a 1270K, okay. I find that a little bit strange, considering there are plenty of Z690 boards, even, I think, with Wi-Fi for around $200. 32 gigabytes of RAM, very what we saw earlier. 2 terabyte spinning drive. 1 terabyte SSD, 6950 XT, and then a Fractal Design Pop Air case and Supernova 850. And we're coming in at a similar price point. So yeah, this build also is different in that they chose AMD, but similar processor, similar RAM capacity, 280 AIO. Tons of ways you could do a build under around $2,500. So thank you for submitting that, JQ. Okay, next up we do have, you want to rate my PC? Heck yeah, I want to rate your PC. This is Turks, TERX. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Do I want to rate their PC? So this is apparently what they have. So I'm not gonna look at price because I don't know how much they pay for it, but they have an 1170K, okay, 360 millimeter AIO. I think that's what the H150i is, right? It's not 420. It is 360. We have 32 gigabytes across 4 memory slots rather of G-Skill Trident Royal, the one that looks like encrusted diamonds. 2 terabyte Samsung 970 EVO, 2 terabyte spinning 7200 RPM drive, RTX 3090, TD 500 case, Corsair RMX 850X. Yeah, everything about this build is pretty much very solid, top tier. I mean, the only thing, like, yeah, so it's a B560 with a 11700K. That's the only thing that kind of feels dated, and it's not even that dated, right? It's 2 generations old. It's just that you just barely missed the generation for the new socket for that 1700. So, but this is fine though. Very, I would consider this still to be a high-end build. All right, so we will comment on $8 Twitter. Chris, Dr. Kunin, I went 32 gigabytes and now everyone is. Time to go 64 gigabytes. Indeed. You know, one thing that I've noticed, so I recently just benchmarked this system for the video coming out in a couple days. Fortnite uses so much memory if you have it available. This build that I did has 16 gigabytes of RAM in it because it's sub $1,000. It's actually like a $900 build. But when I was playing Fortnite, memory usage was up around 14 gigabytes. Whereas every other title usually floats around 8 to 10 gigs. So, yeah. 16 gigabytes could be on its way out sooner rather than later. But I think 32 should last plenty long. But yeah, I mentioned that, Chris, because I know you play Fortnite specifically. So, yeah. Okay. Back to Twitter real quick to finish this off. We have 2 more and then that's going to be it before we talk about Twitter and Elon Musk and stuff like that. Alright, Javier sending in, oh, look at these cute cats. That is so many kitties. All of the sisters' cats eating dinner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, the little ones the tiny ones are so cute. We babysit cats from time to time, but my wife has pretty bad allergies. So when they're here, she loves the cats and she loves having them here, but it's like she has trouble breathing. She has to take her inhaler more. She has to take her allergy medicine more. It's just a thing. So I don't think we could ever own cats, but babysitting cats is something that we do. And then Jonathan Talks Hardware. All right. So Jonathan Talks Hardware, very active member within this stream community, actually, just posted a system. Let's take a look at it and see if we can do, like, I guess give any commentary or anything about it. So what do we have here? So Jonathan Talks Hardware posted a PC on Java for $700. For me, shipping is gonna be $53. Could be cheaper if you're closer to, I believe he's in Florida. Okay, you already have a typo here, Jonathan. Introducing, it's not a big deal, but in terms of like professionalism as well as people who aren't aware of who you are a verified seller, so that's a good thing. But just like minor spell check right here, so make sure to get the I in there. Wait, Shauner, AIO pump died on you? Which AIO? Alright, so taking a look at Jonathan's post though. So let's take a look at the pictures and comment. Why won't it load? No. Oh, is it too zoomed in? Yep, it is. Okay. I need to fix my zoom level. Okay. So, what do we got here? Let's take a look at the pictures from the beginning again. So, we have a Sama, which is one of the more budget brand cases, which is fine. You know, if you're into PC flipping and stuff like that, you want to maximize your profit margins. So Salma case, I've never personally used this one. I've used other ones that I wasn't too much of a fan of, but let's see. This is a $700 build, so keep that in mind. The lighting in here looks, I actually like the white lighting. That looks fine. You have cable extensions with cable combs, so that's fine. Okay, so what's going on with this picture here? You have this shield. This is me nitpicking, by the way, Jonathan. Like, it's not a huge deal, but as someone who looks at things with like a critical eye, I'm just gonna point out stuff because, you know, you asked me to look at this on stream. But you see this little bracket here that's like the cover for where the screws go onto the bracket for the PCIe expansion slots. So this shouldn't be here. I don't know why it's here in this picture, but I see here you have it installed back here. That's where it goes. So for this picture, and then I'm going to zoom in on this actually to show people what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this thing right here. Having this bracket in there, it looks like you kind of forgot about it when you took the picture, but that looks like that's just a loose part sitting in the case. That may detract some customers, but yeah. Next, as we're going, actually, there's a lot to be seen in this picture. So let me bring that back up. So on this one here too. So here's one tip, whether it be to Jonathan or to anybody else. If you're taking glamour shots, which I would kind of consider these to be glamour shots, to be posted on a website, if you have your PC cheap enough, no one's gonna care. They're gonna care about the spec and they're gonna buy it anyways. But if your PC isn't priced cheap enough and you're actually competing with other people, like this right here, it looks a little unprofessional to me. You do have your USB 3.0 header right here that this could be plugged into. I don't know why it's not plugged in and it's just hanging out in the open here, but this is just something that I'm noticing. Maybe other people who are beginning, like PC buyers, like other people may not care or they might overlook it, but I'm just trying to find things to point out to potentially help you out. You can either take the advice or not. But okay, so there's that. Shauner. Oh, okay, so that NZXT AI was the first one to stop working on you. You got off eBay and it worked for a few hours of testing. Yeah, good luck in the RMA. That would be cool if they fully replaced it and you still got it for that cheaper used eBay price. All right, so next we have this build, which looks like you might have cleaned it up. And we have to keep opening this in a new window. Sorry, because Twitter doesn't let you zoom anymore. So we have it plugged in here. All right, this is a much cleaner shot. Okay, so one thing that I do, this is what I do also, because I post pictures to either my Instagram or when I'm doing B-roll for my completed builds. When you use cheaper cases like this, you notice over here how they don't have, there's just like these big openings for all the cables to come out, but there's no grommets, there's no covers, there's nothing, right? So you do see a lot of the wires running in the back, and down here especially, where there's like an opening in the power supply basement, usually you can tuck these away so that they're not kind of spilling out all over the place. I try to do this to the best of my ability when I take B-roll for the videos, so it looks as clean as possible. I think with a power supply basement this big, you should have room to tuck these underneath here more so they're not popping out, also almost touching the fan. So let's say you transport this and you ship it out and it, you know, stuff moves around a bit. When the buyer eventually sets this up and turns it on, these cables can make their ways and touch the fans when it turns on, and it's gonna, like, you know, interfere and rattle and click and stuff like that. But other than that, this is a pretty clean shot. Just, I'm definitely nitpicking here about some of these other things. Overall, this is a very clean shot, Jonathan. Oh, the tray on the bottom. So I'm guessing there's a hard drive tray or something down here is what you're saying. what I normally do is, if you're not using those drive bays, is tuck it into the drive bays if you have like one bay open. There's, I don't know, there's usually ways where you can get these to be hidden. But if you're saying you can't do it, then you know, then that's just what it is. So, okay, so that's just looking through the pictures. This is also a clean shot. Very nitpicky here. I know, what is it? This looks like a SATA cable. So you don't have a SATA cable here. And here it looks like you do have a SATA cable, a red one. So it looks like you took these pictures at different points in time, which there's no problem with that. But now that, I think this kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Audience or viewers, you can agree or disagree with me. But like, if I'm doing a build like this, which has some aesthetically, like, you know, features about it, you got LED fans and stuff like that, I would usually, you should have a handful, if you're a PC builder and flipper, you should have way more SATA cables on hand than you know what to do with. So I would use a black one if you have one, because this red in this build sticks out so much. But functionality wise, it's fine. A SATA cable is a SATA cable. Assuming even, yeah, I guess 3 versus 6 gigabit, it doesn't even matter if you're attaching it to the spinning hard drive, because you're going to be bottlenecked by the drive. But yeah. Alright, so we got that done with. Let's see. As for the build itself, because we were just commenting on things that we could physically see about it. Okay, we're going to talk about Twitter. That's the last thing we got to do. We're already 2 hours in the stream. There's a lot to talk about tonight, apparently, even with such a basic premise of a $2,500 PC. But, alright, we got a 10400F. We got 16 gigabytes of RAM. Jonathan, there is a way to make these specs be listed out. Is it worth the effort? I don't know. If you're selling these builds within a day or two of posting it, as this posting is, I'm going to refresh to see. Okay, you didn't fix that one yet. But yeah, if you're having no problem selling these builds, just ignore my advice, because obviously you're doing something right. But for me personally, looking at this, it's kind of like a strain on my eyes that everything is put in like a paragraph form and not listed out. So we've got the 10400F here, as well as RAM on the same line. But then we've got the Gigabyte V560 DS3H motherboard that split lines here. It's harder to see everything when it's all like this. And then, yeah, Shauner says, it's worth the effort to make them spaced out. I remember it's not as easy as just double tapping enter, right? For the listing when I made it on Jawa, you do have to follow some kind of syntax for it. But yeah, this is just hard to read. But overall, we have a Zotac OEM GTX 1070 with a 10400F, 8 gig. What is this? Okay, so yeah, 8 gigabyte is part of the VRAM for the 1070, but I thought it was going into a new part. But then we got silicon power, 500. Oh geez, yeah, this is all to me like I'm reading it all crammed together now. We got a 1 terabyte SSD, 500 watt Enermax PSU. A little bit questionable there. 500 watt. Which Enermax PSU do you have? I think in most scenarios it would be fine, but if I was trying to advise a friend to buy this, I would have them message you and find out specifically what Enermax PSU this was. Because you only put the brand, you don't put the specific model on there. Yeah, so Jason, well, Jason, I think you are one of the prime examples of you have really good prices. And again, if this was listed at $500 or something, I'd be like, okay, whatever about the pictures and the way it's listed. But if it's listed at a bit more, I'm going to be more critical of it, I guess. Obviously, if you send a cell phone picture with one sentence of a $600 RTX 3090, I don't care, I'm buying it. So there's a balance between price and the quality of the post that should be maintained, I guess. All right, so I'm going to refresh the page. It's a Cyberbron 550. Okay. Oh, okay, here we go. So we do have a much nicer list. Now it's way easier to see. For $700, I mean, you are putting the time and effort to assembling this, getting Windows set up and stuff. Let's see, the 1070, what are those going for? Like maybe 150 at 150. 10400s are what, like $120? I feel like, I don't know if you want to out how much you spent on this, Jonathan. I'm thinking you're making, based on the parts in this PC, I think you're probably profiting around $200 to $250. You don't have to tell me if that's what you are, if you want to keep it a secret or whatever, but just look at the price list here. That's what I'm thinking. If you're a really good deal hunter, then I think maybe 300, like what Spank Buddha is saying. But, yeah. Feel free to share your secrets. But also, don't feel obligated to. Alright. We are 15 minutes past the 2-hour mark that we typically stream, or aim to stream for. So, we are going to end with the discussion, and everyone is feel free to participate. Let me see if I can pull up the Twitter posts. Elon Musk. Is it $8 for Twitter, right? I think he posted out something about $20. Okay, so Elon has been posting quite a bit about this in the last couple of days. Do I even follow Elon? I don't think I do, but people I follow Elon, so I see his stuff. Yeah, I stopped following Elon because he's too much of a troll. But I see his stuff in my feed still because everyone else follows him or comments on his stuff. So I think originally he posted about a $20 verified Twitter. Can I find that on here? Him and his memes, man. Let me see if I can find the original tweet. Doesn't look like I can find it. Yeah, I can't find it. But apparently, due to people giving feedback or complaining or whatever, he's gonna charge $8 a month for it. Would I pay this? Honestly, for me personally, I use Twitter, and I interact on Twitter and stuff, but I don't think I use it enough to justify me spending $20 on it. But there are definitely bigger creators and bigger, like, companies and stuff like that that do use Twitter and gain way more, like, in terms of their growth of their monetization revenue streams, that it makes sense. But for me, I interact with my friends on Twitter. I sometimes poke at companies. I respond to viewers if they have questions. I use Twitter to answer some of your guys' questions and look at your PC part picker lists. But I don't think I need verified Twitter for that. And I don't think that when he says he's going to charge $8 a month, I don't know the full details of it, and I've been trying to look for it, but not every user out there can just spend $8 and get Twitter Blue or the check mark or whatever, right? Yeah. Don't you still have to, like, so right now the Twitter requirements to get a check mark is you have to be a person of influence. You have to have been in, like, 2 newspaper articles at least or something like that, or publications. So there's requirements to get it. I think for $8 a month, you still have to meet all those other requirements, which I still don't meet, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm not a big enough person to get the checkmark in the first place, so yeah. Yeah, he's charging this is how I think it's working. He's charging the people that already have the checkmark the same $8. So I'm not even a part of the conversation because I don't meet the requirements to get verified on Twitter. But yeah, if you're a business looking to gain followers and influence, $20 a month, that is definitely well worth it. But on my thoughts of it, I think, especially since, like, I'm generally like left leaning, and I definitely do not agree with a lot of what Elon does. I think the people who are criticizing $8 a month, based on what we know so far, because this could change. Like we don't have the full details hashed out. I think the people complaining about the $8 a month are taking it a little bit too far, I guess. Like, I don't think it's as big of a deal as they're making it out to be, unless I'm missing something big here, which I am happy to read all your guys' thoughts and comments to see if you could change my mind. But yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I think people, like what Elon said, some people are just complaining to complain. But let's see. Shaner with the Micro Center find here. What is this? Is that a bug or is that intended? Personally, if he charged me 1 cent, I wouldn't pay it. But I don't need it. Wait, Jason, did you find this deal independent of Shaner posting it? Was it like, did this pop up on Build a PC sales or Slick Deals or something like that? Usually deals like this, when people find it out and they like spread it to the masses, they do it. So okay, it was on Build a PC sales earlier. Yeah. Oh man, has anyone reported on success stories of picking it up? Okay, let's see. Shane Eslick says, yeah, I saw a lot of people, like Stephen King being one of them. Him and Elon actually went back and forth on Twitter. So, if anything, I just enjoy kind of reading the Twitter drama between people. But I think both sides have good points to be made, but not all the good points are always made, if that makes sense. Like, yes, all of a sudden charging people $20 or $8 a month when there are other ways that they already have like advertisement on Twitter. So I guess, do you want more advertisement or less if this new paid system takes into effect? Wayne says, I don't use Twitter, I'm just enjoying the content and rants people reporting out. Yeah, that's kind of like what I do too. I don't interact too much on Twitter and get into like big arguments and stuff. I like reading that drama as well as posting to my followers and fellow content creators. That's about it. Yeah, so Jonathan Talks Hardware makes a good point too. It is my main platform for like tech news and what people are posting, like the bigger channels, as well as sometimes news too. Like, I get news trickled in through Twitter, obviously from reputable sources. I'm not just some random person tweeting out like some headline or something, right? You click on the article and you go and you check to see if that source is biased in any way, stuff like that. But yeah, Twitter definitely is not just an app for quote unquote social media, like for Facebook and stuff. It's actually really important to discourse in all areas, news, politics, entertainment, everything. So, oh, you sent a video of the cats. Okay, we're gonna do one more Twitter thing because the cats. Okay. Oh man, so this is Jason Whitmer's kitties. That one looks like Atlas, the one that we babysit quite a bit, and this one's all white. So adorable. This one's kind of long-haired. Oh man. So much kitty litter, am I right? So much kitty litter. So much kitty litter and cat food. Kevin knows. I thought you and your wife had a cat. No, that's the cat that. So we have a roommate. My wife's little sister, or I guess my sister-in-law. She lives with us too. And she owns a cat with her boyfriend, which mostly stays at her boyfriend's place. But he lets us babysit them from time to time because they're so adorable. So, yeah. But no, we do not have cats on our own. Like I said earlier, my wife has allergies. Pretty bad allergies to them. So, I don't think we can deal with them like full time. No, Greyman Media, we're done talking about the $2,500 PC build. We pretty much built out a system and really couldn't find a way to justify spending all $2,500. We were just $100 or $2 short of being able to fit in a 4090, but at the end of the day, we ended up with like a $2,200 build. So we have a Dyson V10. We don't have a Dyson Animal, but the Dyson V10 is a really good vacuum cleaner. It was pricey, but we've been using it for 4 years with 0 issues, and it's easily paid itself off. So yeah. Kevin B says, I've been cutting out social media out of my life. Elon buying Twitter was the final push to deactivate my account and wait for deletion. I'm here to ride the wave and see what actually happens. A lot of people think it's going to be like the freaking apocalypse on Twitter now that Elon has acquired it. Just because he's kind of a troll and he wants like freedom of speech and all of that, but then where do you draw the line of freedom of speech versus like things like hate speech? And you know, the fact that I actually saw the N-word trending on Twitter. It wasn't just an article. I actually saw it, and if you went to search the N-word on Twitter that first day he acquired it, your search results will be filled with some pretty appalling stuff. So yeah, it's a tough, I guess, problem to solve as well as topic to talk about. So I'm going to be open-minded, see what happens in the coming months or even years with Elon owning Twitter, and we'll see what happens from there. For now, though, there's no reason for me to leave the platform at this point in time, but that could change. Hassan says, he's charging them for something they already have and are used to, so it would be weird. That's a good point. He does have some leverage there. People who are already used to being verified. I guess I'm trying to think of, do you think, when you talk about verification and stuff, $8 a month sounds like a drop in the bucket to a lot of people, but there are a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck or are struggling when it comes to income. So, but if you look at all the verified Twitter accounts out there, do you think there are any verified Twitter users who are actually struggling to make $8 a month to pay for their verification? Like, do you think there's anyone who is either homeless or actually living paycheck to paycheck who is verified on Twitter? And I'm not coming up with many scenarios or any accounts that I've personally run across that are like that, but obviously I've not seen every verified account out there, so. Patrick McGovern says, I hardly use Twitter aside from online giveaways. Yeah, I think that's mostly what people like. So I run Twitter giveaways on Twitter, and a majority of the people, because you know, when I have a comment or a retweet be a requirement, most people, when I look through their stuff, usually have not many followers, aren't following too many people, and their timeline is just filled with giveaway entry requirements. So yeah, this is a very common situation for a typical Twitter user, especially in like the tech space. All right. Wayne says, you don't need to buy a verification on Twitter. You need to fix your living situation first. For anyone who can be verified and can't afford $8 a month. That's, I mean, I can't say you're wrong there. I don't want to be harsh and, you know, judge anyone's living situation. But yeah, if $8 a month is that important, I think there are other priorities, I guess, or other ways you should restructure your finances or your business plan if you're using it for like business reasons where you can't shell out $8 a month. But, you know, that's me looking at it, trying to be as unbiased as possible with my personal inner biases. But Patrick says, when I tweeted you a pic of my PC, that's the only time I've ever sent anything that wasn't a retweet. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate you using your one unique Twitter use on the stream and showcasing your stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, $8. People spend more on Taco Bell. Actually, $8 gets you a lot of Taco Bell. But, alright. I think Melissa's getting hungry. I'm in charge of dinner tonight, so I'm gonna have to end the stream here. Very, very fun stream tonight. Based on a very simple premise of, you know, trying to build a PC out, and then just with whatever is going on in the world right now with Twitter and all of that. So look forward to the Intel Arc A770 build video coming in the next couple of days. And then I'll have full benchmarks released for that too, so those are always fun. But yeah, other than that, everyone have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Thank you as always for being here as part of the stream, and I will see you in the next stream as well as in comments of the next video. Bye bye.